Hello, everybody. Welcome.
Hello and welcome. We're producing this segment today here on the 24th, isn't it, of March?
2020.
2020.
And we're still here.
Right. We were inspired to offer a bit of additional information to help us all context what's happening, the global changes that are happening currently, what's been termed the global crises, and it is a crisis, but we want to dive into it a bit and talk about the good that can come from it, the processes that are in place, the energies as we see them moving, and the potential outcomes and the timing of those potential outcomes. So to that end, here we are. And would you want to say anything before we begin?
Yes, just there's no going back. The world is not going to go back. The great thing is not to turn pandemic into pandemonium. And
Yes.
so, if we can state things clearly to you, what to watch out for, or look after yourself, what it is that we might describe as the greater plan of consciousness in these times.
Yes.
That's our intention today.
Yes, thank you for putting that so clearly. So this is unscripted, and we're just, so it's going to be casual, kind of fireside chat sort of way of expressing. We wanted to begin with sort of stepping back and taking a really broad look at things. And that really begins with the time when our current age big global crises actually began, it began with the financial crash and crises in 2008. What happened that was significant in the energies in 2008 is that Pluto, after having been in the sign of Sagittarius, which heralded a tremendous amount of growth, positive possibilities over the period of a decade, or more than a decade. What happened in January 26th of 2008, Pluto entered the sign of Capricorn. Pluto brings transformation, and it does it through death and rebirth, collapsing the old so that something new can get born, and ideally something new gets born that's functioning at a higher frequency, has a potential for higher positive impact.
So the last time it did this was 250 odd years ago, and we might date the formation of the United States at that time. That
Right.
was the energy going on, that something dramatic had to change.
Yes, while Pluto was in Capricorn, that was the American Revolution. Exactly. And the signing of the Independence Declaration and the real beginning of the vision for America. So what's happening now is that a new vision obviously has to emerge, but now it's not just for America, it's for the entire world, because we're all connected.
Fancy that.
Right.
We're all on the same boat here.
So starting in 2008, early 2008, Pluto transited and will transit, it's continuing to transit Capricorn. Capricorn has to do with all of our world systems, our education systems, our medical systems, our political systems, our banking systems, et cetera, et cetera. All the systems that are the organizing factors within society are being affected by Pluto going through Capricorn. It's time for some radical transformation. It has been since 2008. Obviously, the solutions that we've come up so far, we've made some incremental progress towards change, but something bigger, something more massive needs to happen. And we feel that before the end of this Pluto transit, which won't really be officially until towards the end of 2024, we will have the beginnings of a new world system, a new world order, and that will be being implemented into all of our systems. So why are we in this year? Why are we at this point, this big global massive turning point? Well, energetically, Pluto, as I said, it's a long transit. It's 16 years of Pluto in Capricorn. But this year, 2020, Pluto is joined by both Jupiter and Saturn in Capricorn And as we'll see as we go through it, and they will be, and Pluto will also be receiving some very challenging aspects from Mars. So that particular planetary arrangement would be the time that if there were going to be big global catalytic kind of events, that they would happen. And so here they are. So we've been teaching about this in our Energies and Opportunities program for some time now. We've been making all of our members aware, and those of you who attend our monthly broadcast, getting as much information to you as possible about this. It is our desire and our invitation to you to share our broadcast with anyone who you feel might benefit from the information. So this is the turning point. And then at the beginning of 2023, so the spring of 2023, right about the spring equinox of 2023, Pluto enters the sign of Aquarius. Now it just does that for a short time because it's a big planet that moves very slowly. So it's going to dip into Aquarius, then it's going to dip back out, back into Capricorn, dip back into Aquarius, and it will do that for about 18 months until it makes its final ingress into Aquarius in the year 2024, November 20th, 2024 to be exact. So what does this mean for us?
Don't hold your breath.
It means we basically have about 4 years to rebuild our society's world structure, and that's enough time because we have the capacity, we have the connectivity, we have the resources, we have the technologies to do this rebuilding. And perhaps as sort of shocking as it is and as sad as it is that people are suffering, perhaps this global pandemic that we're all now experiencing will be the catalyst that will finally get the world moving towards greater unity and greater cooperation. So that said, let's look at what it means for all of us in our lives, and honing in now on the energies that we're now enjoying. So for those of you who are members of our Energies and Opportunities program, you know that we have been suggesting that you get all of your new endeavors done. If you're creating a new company, or you're doing a new business launch, or you're putting out a new product or service into the world, get all of that done before mid-April, because we're going to have some planetary phenomena for the remainder of the year that's going to make it quite challenging to launch anything brand new. So would you like to add anything to that?
Yeah, well, just to say, with human design, we don't necessarily look at the astrological side of things, but we are interested to see what are the particular gates in human design that are involved with this sign of Capricorn, where Pluto comes into Capricorn. It comes in gateway number 10. And gateway number 10 is a very interesting gate. The Chinese call it treading on the tail of the tiger. And it's instant recognition of a challenge. So Pluto coming into Capricorn, or coming into the 10th gateway in the second line, which it was, all of a sudden we're confronted by things that this has to be dealt with. And so since 2008, these last few years, it's been all about confronting one situation after another as various of these systems break down. So in this next year or so, it's still going on. At the moment, it's sitting in gateway number 61, which is the gateway of inner truth. So bottom line with all of this is, when you're tied into an old system or an old way of doing things, it looks like, yeah, this is how we've always done it. This is how it always works. And Pluto in the 61 says, well, hang on a minute, 61 is a big interrupt. It's finding out what is our truth when we're confronted by situations that are not functioning anymore. And so we're in this situation at the moment. Saturn, which you haven't talked about yet, but Saturn, takes 28 odd years to go around us, and it's sitting in gateway number 60 at the moment. And the gate 60 is partly in Capricorn and partly in Aquarius in astrology terms. So it's in the Capricorn part still. So it's stirring up the whole mix. And gateway number 60 is the gateway of limitations. And so, I guess everybody on the planet at the moment has experienced something of a limitation. You know, social distancing, can't go outside anymore. You know, you have to be very particular about your behaviors and
Stock
things.
prices, stock values are falling, et cetera, except people are losing their jobs.
So the great thing with limitation is to see how much does this personally affect me, you know, and do I totally compromise my whole life as a result of this, or do I start seeing, take care of the needful? You know, that is the whole thing about a limitation. Take care of the needful and use that as a springboard into other activities in life. There's also a situation at the moment where the planet Uranus has been in gateway number 27 for a large part of last year. It's going up through the 27 now till May the 14th. And gateway number 27 is the gateway of nourishment. How do we nourish ourselves? And Uranus is very much the Aquarian planet. And it says, you know, possibly totally rearranging how you nourish yourself at the moment. Takes, what is it, 84 years to go all the way around? So this is our lifetime experience at the moment. We have to up level, particularly our consciousness in terms of how we're nourishing ourselves. So being very aware of who the people we're hanging out with, who the people we actually trust when we're looking for, you know, how to be nourished in our lives, who are the people that actually resonate with us in terms of what it is they're telling us. Is it truthful? Is it landing in a space of inner truth? Does it fit for me? Because face it, all of us are going to have to shift out of all these ideologies and things that we've been using for the last 250 odd years plus. And we're going to have to find inner truth, right? What is our truth? So that's a little bit of the picture as we enter into this talk now.
Yeah, it's an essential part of the picture. It is the picture. I mean, it's the essence of really the energies that we're working with, the invitation to humanity. Whether this was, I mean, we know there's all kinds of theories out there. You know, whether this was purposely orchestrated or it was an accident or, you know, it was just a freak of nature. Hopefully at some point the truth about it will be revealed, but the important thing now is it's happened. And so what is it bringing forward? And of course, if you've been watching the news, you've been seeing that, of course, yes, people are suffering in big ways. People are also coming together in big ways. Huge global communities, global meditations, people offering to step up, to provide their services, to provide their time and energy and their resources. Humanity really beginning to come together as one family.
Which is part of the whole Aquarian scene.
Right. It's also part of where we are in the moving soul path for all humanity now. It's going through the sign of Cancer. Those of you who are members, you know all about this. So we've been looking at what are our family values and how secure really is our foundation in life. Is security found in our home, in the things we own, or is it found within us and in our relationship to spirit and to the creative impulse within ourselves? So really taking a deep look at those things as well. So let's take a quick look at the energies as they move. So starting here in the spring, on the 22nd of March, just a couple days ago, Saturn left Capricorn, where it's been for 2 years, a little bit more than 2 years, and dipped itself into Aquarius, where it is now. It'll go into Aquarius all the way almost to 2 degrees of Aquarius on May 11th of this year. It will turn retrograde again in Aquarius, and it'll back up so that by July 3rd, 2020, Saturn will be back in Capricorn, where it'll remain for the most of the rest of the year, all the way until December 18th. And we'll see that that date is really significant when we look at some other planetary movement. So what does that mean, Saturn dipping into Aquarius? It's giving us a little foretaste of what it can be like to actually live in a global, highly connected community where people are, as much as possible, putting down their differences, not focusing so much on the conflicts or the misunderstandings or whatever, and really focusing on, you know, what can we do to be a positive force for good for our brothers and sisters on the planet and for ourselves and our own families, of course. So that essentially is what we see happening with Saturn going into Aquarius. That's the conversation that, you know, whether you're watching what's going on in the world of the internet, in the world of, you know, consciousness raising communities that focus on spiritual awakening or consciousness raising, which are millions and millions of people all over the world, or whether you watch CNN, you know, you're going to see it's the same conversation, all right, without the context that those of us who've been working with, you know, awareness and wisdom traditions have, but still the conversation is the same. What can we do to help? How can we come together as a human family? So this is going to continue now for a number of months, and then it will end us up with the moving soul path for all humanity moving into Gemini, where we'll have greater discourse, greater even still connectivity, and the pooling of resources and information and education. So that's the overview there. And then with Saturn dipping into Aquarius is giving us a little forelook, you know, a little sort of preview of coming attractions of the kinds of solutions that can be coming forward out of the inspiration and the creative minds of all humanity. We do dip back into Capricorn, as I said, in July of 2020, all the way until December. And essentially what I see there is that, so we take whatever awareness and resources that have come forward, and we begin to plug them into the existing systems in a way that they start transforming the existing systems into new forms of, and ideally better forms of expression and utilization. So overall, it'll be a good thing. So connected with this, and then I'm gonna let you talk for a minute. So connected with this is the planet Jupiter expansion, which has also been in Capricorn this year, making an exact conjunction, so coming together exactly with the planet of transformation, Pluto. So when Jupiter, which is our social values, it's our belief systems, our religious philosophical systems, it's our global understanding and sense of connectivity, when that planet then comes together with Pluto in the sign of Capricorn, so in the sign of society's main systems, what we're going to have is new possibilities arising. And we see that first conjunction happening April 4th and 5th, coming right around the corner here at 25 degrees of Capricorn. It happens again at the end of June. Another exact conjunction, June 29th, 30th. Again, well, this one 24 degrees of Capricorn. And a third time in November 12th, 2020. November 12th, 2020. And that happens at 23 degrees of Capricorn. And then Jupiter enters Aquarius, leaves Capricorn, enters Aquarius on December 19th. So we have Saturn going in on the 17th, 18th of December into Aquarius, and Jupiter going in on the 19th. So the two of them just almost concurrently exactly. And you'll have something to say about where that happens in the human design matrix, which also sheds a different kind of light on what's happening in a global way.
Love that vitamin C. And that's why part of this whole thing of dealing with a virus with Uranus in the 27th is basically, Uranus always asks us to step up, to go outside of the box, to see, you know, what's the innovative, what's the breakthrough possibility, what's the fifth dimensional way of looking at things. And in the 27 at the moment, it's been just saying, clean up your act, get your health trip down, nourish yourself in a way where your immune system is not going to get compromised by anything. And honestly speaking, you know, this is a virus that, you know, if you trace the linkages to the virus back, it goes all the way back to the beginning of time. You know, it's just been mutating, showing up in different shapes and forms, but the proteins are all the same. It's not the last one we're going to get. There's going to be more of these things. And so, you know, what is being implemented to this time is all of us have to clean up our act in multiple different ways. And as Carola is saying, you know, there's this possibility of us all working together to make this happen, and all of us step up in this way. So there really is that. We're in this last couple of months where Uranus is in the 27 and encouraging us, clean up your act. It then moves into gate 24. And in human design, the 24 is up in the mind center here. It's a gateway of, we call it the gateway of returning, where it's a cyclical thought process, a thought process that goes round and round and round, constantly refining, or at least that is the hope of it, refining what it is that's on our mind. And the fact that Pluto is on the other end of it in the 61, and Jupiter's on the other end of it at the moment, Mars is in the other end of it at the moment in the 61. So there's this tremendous pressure on us to establish what is my personal truth. And when Uranus goes in there, we're going to have this constant mental process going on, like reminding us what is truthful, what is truthful, what's the truth. And the thing about truth is a very personal experience. It is a universal thing. But truth is something that happens inside, you know, when the penny drops, when you just get it. And it comes through sound and silence. And so finding out for ourselves, you know, what is this massive shift that goes on this is a time for all of us to find out what is our personal truth. We've been told all kinds of things about this world, about life, about religions, about politics, nationalities, races, all this stuff. We've been told all of this stuff. And in this year, it's really time to come home and work out, what's the reality here? From my point of view, we didn't come here to live our life for anybody else. You know, we came here to live our own life. And that is the whole crux of things at this moment. We're being challenged in multiple different ways. And in any situation, what is our truth? And when we start recognizing how to find that truth, all of a sudden we realize, my goodness, I can really be in love with my life. And that's the whole thing. When you're in love with your life, you're not concerned about anything. Nothing can get through to you. Nothing can penetrate through to you. You're just in love. You're in that glowing form. And that's my sense of what it is that's happening for us at the moment. You know, we can look at all the distractions, the politics, all the upsets, you know, the health concerns, the money thing. And I don't mean to minimize the money thing. I think we're going to get some tremendously creative ideas. You know, America, after all, is the only country that can print money out of thin air, you know, and it doesn't seem to have any problem being able to do that. So, you know, it's just a case of tapping into the resources in creative ways. My sense is the whole money thing's going to change. It has to. You know, you can't keep on printing things forever. So again, let's get upset and nervous about this stuff. Part of the thing about having a really healthy immune system is you start dispensing the idea of fear. You get over the fear of what it is.
Dispensing or dispensing with?
Yeah, you dispense with it.
You get rid of it.
You don't need to concern yourself anymore. And those of you that know your human design chart, you've got an undefined spleen center, you are susceptible to other people's fears. You've got an undefined root center, you are susceptible to other people's panic attacks and toilet papering expeditions, you know. It's like, you know, just be aware of these things, you know. This is an opportunity, a massive opportunity for all of us to establish what is my truth as a pure individual, as a pure expression of consciousness in human form. What's the deal? So we're going to go look at a few more of these aspects and things that are going on here. But at the core of the whole thing, this is our opportunity at the moment to establish, to be in the center of the cyclone, the cyclone of the world, the news, the chaos, whatever it is that's going on around us, to be absolutely grounded and clear in our center. And then nothing can knock us off balance. And that's the truth.
So we're going to take a quick look at the financial ramifications, and then we'll look ahead at some of the ramifications in terms of business, job sector, et cetera, et cetera. And we'll look at when we would predict things will return to a semblance of order and kind of equanimity and peacefulness. So first of all, let's look at finances. So Venus is the planet we're going to look at when we look at money. And Venus, it does this every 2 years. So it's not a particularly highly unusual thing, but it's going to be making a retrograde, which it'll do for 6 weeks. So retrograde motion is apparent backwards motion of a planet being viewed from planet Earth. So it's obviously not really moving backwards, but because it appears to be moving backwards, it's tracing backwards through both the astrological matrix and the human design matrix. So it starts its retrograde on May 13th, and that is at 21 degrees and 50 minutes of Gemini, which Chetan, you said is in gate 45, line 6, right?
Yeah.
So, and you'll chime in on that as well.
It's very much a place of taking great responsibility, of seeing what is my responsibility to the world, to the people, to my clients, to everybody around me, my family.
Yeah, and financially.
Well,
In terms of well-being.
Well-being generally, but
right.
it's just that, are my people in good shape?
Yes.
That's the bottom line with the 45.
Yeah, I mean, one of the first things we did is organize a family Zoom meeting so we all could, because we live in different parts of the United States, so we all could come together and make sure that we were, each of us, well supported. So things like that are happening all over the globe. With Venus going retrograde in May, one of the things that I would predict is that this will be the time when we really start to see some of the financial repercussions. I mean, it's not that we're not aware of them now, but it's a little bit like we're in the eye of the hurricane. And right now we're just trying to batten down the hatches for the storm itself. But in the aftermath of the storm, then we go and we survey the damage. And I think we'll see that beginning mid-May as Venus turns and does its retrograde for 6 weeks, as I said. So we'll be taking a deep look at our finances, our what essentially where we stand, and what we need, and hopefully having some realizations about what we need to do. And those realizations most likely coming more towards when Venus returns to direct motion at 5 degrees of Gemini on the 25th of June. So we should have some pretty good ideas of where we stand, and hopefully some innovative intuitive inspirations and ideas about what we can do to rebalance this ship.
Can I just interject here about the particular gates in human design that it's doing this retrograde in? Because it basically means Venus goes forward through these gates, goes backwards through these gates, and then goes forward through these gates. So it's kind of a scrubbing motion in terms of wealth and creative ideas and our whole sensation of beauty and well-being, the Venus energy. So 45 goes backwards through the 45. This is the gateway of king, the queen, the ruler, the ultimate where the buck stops, taking personal responsibility, as I say, for your people, for your family. It goes back all the way to the gateway number 20. It goes through 2 other gates and into the 20, which is the gateway of the now, this moment. And so when Venus does its turn to come back forward again, it's all of a sudden, have we learned what it was in these other gateways? And the other gateways are in this quarter in human design, the quarter of civilization. Gandhi was heard to say, civilization was a great idea. He hoped it would happen one day. And we really are, if we're going into the Aquarian age, we are having to go into an age where we're civil with each other. And so, Venus going backwards and forwards through these particular gates in the quarter of civilization is going to expand our awareness for each other in the world here. And perhaps we'll have this great opportunity to get over our own personal panics and fears and stuff and start seeing ourselves as a global community that can really support each other, and to really bring about civilization in a whole new context, that we start erasing some of the lines that we have drawn between us for one reason or another.
Now, every time that Venus goes retrograde, as I said, it does it once every 2 years. We're not necessarily going to have a crisis of these proportions. We have to look at the aspect Venus in during this retrograde period. And what we see is Venus enters a right angle square aspect to the planet Neptune on May 3rd. So why is that significant, and why could we actually look at this and say this is going to indicate some financial challenges or some challenges in your love life, or both? Because first of all, Venus has to do with our love nature. It has to do with our sense of enjoyment of life, of our financial well-being, of our romantic life, of our appreciation of beauty. And And Neptune is the higher octave of Venus. It's love that is spiritual love. It's love that isn't necessarily working on, expecting something back in return, that reciprocal kind of love. That is very human love. But spiritual love is love for the sake of love itself. It is being love. It is literally stepping into and becoming and being love. It's living love as a principle, not as a transaction. So that's essentially what's being challenged at this time with this retrograde is, how much are you truly loving? I took a look at, as we ask ourselves questions during times like this, if I had all the money in the world and I didn't need anything, would I still be doing some of the things I'm doing in our business right now? And the answer is a resounding yes, because I want to serve. It is in my nature to be of service. It is what I'm called to do. And it isn't really about money. Yes, of course, it generates money for us. And that's a very good thing because it keeps us going and fed and all that good stuff. But the motivation is way beyond that. So I think we'll all be looking at what are our true motivations when it comes to our money-making activities, when it comes to our love relationships, and coming to discover what those motivations really are. And if they need to get reoriented, this would be the time to do that reorienting. So starting May 3rd, when Venus makes this first right angle with Neptune, and then when it makes its final right angle with Neptune in this year, at the end of July 27th, 2020, another realization point. Now, along with that, I think also we're going to see if there's any sort of solutions that may come out for some kind of global financial reset, that most likely those will be on the table, at least for discussion, if not ready for a decision by the end of July when we see Venus turning direct.
So just to correlate with that a little bit, Venus, I've talked about, in this quadrant we call civilization. And Neptune at the moment is in this gateway we call the gateway of grace. And it takes a long time to go through any particular gateway, 2 or 3 years. So it's going to be in there for the next couple of years. And the whole thing with grace is, grace gives us an opening, an opportunity for an opening. So Venus giving us this kind of particular aspect, which we don't necessarily see in human design so clearly, but there is this activity, what is the personal love experience and what is the universal love experience. And so Neptune in the 22 is basically saying there's an opening to experiencing your life in a very, very different way at the moment. When you come up to what looks like a brick wall, the gateway number 22 is actually a gateway. And not everybody gets to see that gateway, but with Neptune in there at the moment, it's just providing that gateway. It's providing that opening to go into a very, very different space in our lives. To actually embrace that being in love with life. Mm-hmm. And, of course, everything has an opposite as well. So grace can also equally be disgrace. And there's that great opportunity for us to fail in this regard, to not share this grace, this love for life with everybody else, with the world around us. So just for all of us to be aware of that, that is what is being offered at the moment.
And we're at choice.
Yeah, we get that choice. Am I going to find the opening to be in love with my life, whatever life presents to me? And, of course, I would always counsel everybody, get in touch with your human design, and it'll tell you how to deal with any challenge or any situation that comes your way on your own terms. And that's the important thing of it all.
And I would add to that, do your meditation, do your prayer, do your spiritual practice, whatever that is, and however it looks for you in your life. And what I know about that from my own personal experience is that when we are sincere in our opening in meditation and opening in prayer, we are answered, we are guided, we are inspired, we step into our spirit nature, our spirit being, and we begin to live more and more from that place of high inspired vision. That is, I think, the overall outcome that may, be a few years but it certainly got stimulated very powerfly in this year, 2020. But the overall outcome is that we do arrive at a higher place in our consciousness. And the beauty of arriving there is that it's exquisitely enjoyable. It is just divine pleasure to be in that state of open spiritual awareness. And here's the beauty of it, the more we share it, the more we're filled with it. So we're getting some look at what is a way that I can express the divine nature of my love. How can I bring that more into the world?
And you mentioned meditation.
Mm-hmm.
You shift a letter around and you get medication.
Yeah.
The two are not totally dissimilar at all. Meditation can take you into a very relaxed and clear space inside yourself where the idea of needing pills and potions and stuff is actually irrelevant.
And where you can really hear, where you can receive the higher guidance that it's there for us all the time. So ask for it, ask to be guided, ask to be shown, ask to be shown how to live more and more from that higher dimensional plane, from your higher awareness, from your true spirit nature, which is your actual true self. And you will. So let's look at our work life, because if anything's in free fall right now, it's for many of us, it's our work life. And I don't think any of us are immune. The financial markets are falling dramatically. People are concerned that we're going to hit another huge recession, maybe even to a depression. I mean, there's all these extrapolations of worst case scenarios. And we're not discounting them, but saying, what can come from this is a whole nother look at how we're attracting money into our life and how we're utilizing it, what our values are around money, what our beliefs are around money and worthiness and all of that. And can we work more creatively with the energy of what we call money, whether that ends up being gold or whatever the new standard is going to be, because some new standard will emerge from this.
Maybe we'll go back to seashells.
Let's hope not. That was a little complicated. But so the last thing that we want to point out that's going on significantly this year, if there wasn't enough already, is that Mars, the planet that has to do with our work in the world or our business, if we're business owners, is also going into a retrograde. Well, something it does every 2 years. It's doing that not until September. September 9th of this year, it retrogrades at 28 degrees of Aries. And then as it retrogrades by the end of September, by the 29th of September, it will form its first right angle with Saturn in Capricorn. So for those of you who know astrology, you know that Aries is a cardinal sign, Capricorn's a cardinal sign. They're at a 90-degree angle to each other. The crises that can come from a 90-degree angle within a cardinal sign is going to catalyze action and activity. So this is potentially a good thing, although it might not be a comfortable thing, because we're right up against, with Saturn, we're up against our limitations. And the limitations having to do with how we're moving our business forward, our work life forward. So the first big look at what needs to transform in that arena of our life comes in early October, October 9th of this year. And then, and that's as the planet Mars forms a right angle with Pluto. So first it did its square, which is a right angle to Saturn at the end of September. Then it does a square right angle early October, October 9th, with Pluto, the planet of big global transformation. And then it'll do another right angle with Jupiter, the planet of expansion and growth, October 18th and 19th. So in the backdrop of all of that, while Mars is moving retrograde, let's see, it turns retrograde on, what do we say, the 9th of September. And then it will do a station and turn back direct again at 15 degrees of Aries on November 13th of this year. And then as it does that, it will move towards another right angle square to Pluto in Capricorn, 24 degrees of Capricorn, 24 degrees of Aries for Mars on December 23rd, 2020. So
I remember in my life when the bottom dropped out of my chosen career, the work that I'd chosen. I trained as a mechanical engineer. And I just got to a point in life, goodness knows what the aspects were at the time, but the bottom just dropped out. I wasn't going to do that anymore. And it was really puzzling for a while. And it would seem, what is happening in this year is a lot of careers, a lot of work situations are going to have to transform for one reason or another. And it's not through anyone's particular fault. It's just, that's what's going on. Mm-hmm. And so this whole reinvention of how we apply ourselves into what it is we're doing. And one of the things I've really discovered is that in the end, there is this saying, do what you love and the money will follow. That is one part of a particular formula. But there is this other aspect of things of really allowing yourself to enjoy what it is you do, in that it brings you fulfillment. So we've always tended to kind of rule our lives on how much we make in what we do in terms of money. But there is also this other aspect of how fulfilled am I through what I do? And I'm not saying to dismiss the fact that the money side of it is very important. My sense with the money thing is it's going to reinvent itself sooner or later. It has to in the next year or so. And it'll be quite a dramatic shift from what we're used to. There are whole countries now, for instance, that work through an app on their phone. They don't have cash anymore. Nobody has credit cards anymore. They just use the phone for everything. It's a blockchain system. It's all accounted for, and it's very clear transactions. So, that is one side of it, that everything in that arena has got to change. So I'm just saying with the Mars retrograde, it does its retrograde. It starts off in gateway number 3, which is the gateway of innovation, and goes backwards apparently all the way back through till November the 13th, as you're saying, into gateway number 51, which is the gateway of shock, the arousing. And then it'll start going forward again and come all the way back to gateway number 3 again. So my sense is, all of us, whatever it is that we've been applying ourselves to, the habitual, this is my job, this is my work, this is what I do. All of us are going to have to reevaluate that on some level. And all I can say for myself, from my experience years ago, when I just dropped the whole engineering thing, it was really quite a relief. And really allowing myself to be guided into something that I had natural gifts for. So I just say to all of us, don't be overly concerned that, oh, my job's gone. Life is always going to be offering us new possibilities and things. And it's really an opportunity for us to find our own truth. The truth for me in that time when I changed careers was, I can't carry on doing this anymore. It just doesn't work for me. I'm not being fulfilled with it. And these days, I'm absolutely fulfilled with the work I do. So just let me give you that encouragement, if I may, that if the bottom drops out of your career or your job or the work scene, be open. Allow yourself to be open, to be guided. And I always say again, through your human design, trust your type and authority to allow yourself to be guided and recognize what are your gifts and talents? What is the world really calling from you? And again, we're bound to be entering into an age of entrepreneurs. And as the Dalai Lama says, and I can only agree with him, it's the women entrepreneurs that are going to change everything around on this planet. And it's about having those really creative ideas and those really creative concepts that will spur this to happen. So don't be overly disturbed by the job thing changing, the career thing changing.
So the overview essentially is that with the combination of planetary energies, with all that we've shared with you, how could we not be going through some big global crises challenge? We were already headed into one anyway. We've got challenges with the environment that are very real and need to be addressed. Challenges in our government systems, our social systems, our education systems, our medical systems. It's across the board anyway. This is bringing everything into full focus, technicolor, deal with it now kind of energy. which perhaps history will show that looking back over it, ended up being a good thing because it catalyzed the kind of awareness and the kind of innovation and the kind of new creativity that's really needed in this time to take our world into its next evolutionary phase, which is a phase of ever-growing awakening and awakened humanity working for the benefit of all. That's essentially where we're headed as these planets go into Aquarius, and we begin to see in the early 2020s some remarkable solutions coming forward.
How about free energy, for instance?
Yes,
You know, now
we'll
that the bottom's dropped out of the oil market, how about free energy?
Right.
And I'm not talking about carbon fuels anymore. I'm talking about something that's always been here and just needs to be
harnessed,
brought back into our consciousness again.
Right.
So talking about going into Aquarius, you know, you mentioned earlier Jupiter and Saturn going into Aquarius within 3 days of each other, December the 18th through the 20th, something like that.
Yeah.
And, you know, what is the significance of that? We might say about Saturn, Saturn's the rule systems. You know, this is what has to be done in a very particular way. It involves society in a way. It involves the collective around us. And Jupiter has this tremendous expansive energy. When we're on the right track with something, Jupiter will just blow it up and make it, you know, very amazing for us. So the consequence of Saturn and Jupiter entering into the Aquarius at the same time, pretty much, to me, you know, I just very easily say to myself, this is the end of the age of the wheel. This is the end of the age of, you know, taking land transport for granted. I'm not saying immediately we're all going to get flying cars and stuff like that, but the whole nature of that is going to change, that our consciousness is going to shift up into the airwaves rather than so much terrestrial interaction, out of perhaps the more material into the more creative and
refined and
Aquarian stuff.
Inspired.
And you know, the whole story of the Aquarian age is 1,000 years of peace and prosperity.
Which is coming. And we're the way bringers, we're the way showers.
We got our foot in the doorway, basically.
But we're here to hold the door open.
Yeah.
For the coming generations to step into that age of light, 1,000 years.
So it's just, you know, we've got to grit our teeth a little bit for a few things coming our way in this time, but also to see that we would not have missed this for anything, that there's something amazing here taking place. And just to see, nobody really knows what it's going to be. There's all kinds of speculation what it's going to be, but we're going to be thoroughly entertained with it all. If we can, in the first place, maintain our sense of humor. You know, laughter is the best medicine anyhow, but also to see there's all kinds of doorways opening up for us at the moment. And this particular trend, this movement of Saturn and Jupiter together into the Aquarian age, to me is very consequential. I'm fascinated to watch what it's going to bring with it.
So at the beginning of the year, well, actually, I think it was last December, we produced a yearly broadcast that gave the overview of the energies of the year. And what we've done today is kind of reframe what we essentially have been talking about and have been predicting, but more in the light of the actual circumstances that form the context in which we'll be experiencing these energies and relating to some of the creative solutions. So hopefully this will shed more light on this amazing global journey that we're all in this year of massive transformation and global awakening. And it is our great really honor and joy to be able to share this information with you. And once again, please feel free to share it freely, and we will make it available to everyone in our community and our social media network.
And we're back every month doing our free broadcast month by month. And of course, we'll be adjusting our story as the world adjusts itself. And it's just our great pleasure to do this. And we wish you great enjoyment in having the space and time to meet yourself.
To recreate.
In a whole different way.
Yeah. Yeah, so sure, you know, we might be counting our pennies. And perhaps it'll be necessary for all of us to do that. But let's also count our blessings. And I think the two are very related, because the more we count our blessings, the more somehow the the essentials of what we need do come into our life. They are made available to us. So we'll see more and more people with those stories coming out in the coming times. People ask, when do you think this will be over? I think it's a year. It's not till the end of the year that we begin to see some emergence, real substantial emergence from it. But we'll emerge with some great new solutions and an outline for the next 2 or 3 years to rebuild our communities and our systems. So I think the question, at least that I'm inspired to ask right now, is what can I do to be a part of that, to be to make a positive contribution to that creative new world that we're all co-creating.
So we'll see you again soon. Bye for now.